Nah, this ain't nonsense, this is nonfiction. So excuse if the content is offensive, it's official. Now that we have been acquainted, this is my pleasure, my pain, your entertainment.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Nonpfixion coming back at you one more time with a brand new reaction. And this time, we're going back to Are the Homies and New Rockstars Entertainment. They did this video a couple days ago, but I wanted to watch it and kind of do my reaction to their theories and Easter eggs. Because, tonight is episode 2 of Loki, and we will be doing a live stream tonight at 2:15, whatever time it comes out, whatever drops, we'll be doing a live stream, and we'll be doing a watch along. So you can watch along with me, we can talk about it, discuss it, and all that good stuff. But we're gonna get right to it. Once again, it's from New Rockstars, and it's a Loki episode 1 breakdown, Easter eggs, and details we might have missed, because more than likely we missed a few things. So let me pull it up. And New Rockstars always got some good stuff. So ERIK VOSS is the mother effing man. If you don't know, now you know. Please follow him on all his socials, but also follow New Rockstars. They're dope. Let's go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm ERIK VOSS, and this is a breakdown of Marvel's Loki, episode 1, in which the God of Mischief learns he's just one Infinity Stone in a big box. From the many MCU callbacks to a cartoon I hope you're all taking notes during, there is so much to unpack, so I'm gonna break this down shot by shot for all the cool details that you might have missed. We open on New York City, 2012, the scene of Loki's escape when we last saw him in Avengers Endgame. Actually, this shot is the same exact establishing shot used in Endgame, but with the portal beam, the Chitauri, and a few explosions removed now that the battle's over. And listen to this 4-note chime the episode opens with. Yeah, this is directly from the Endgame score when Tony snuck back into the tower. Notice how the letters
That's a good catch. It's a really good catch, actually.
Just like the split flap display on old train station signs, matching the overall analog production design of the TVA as if they're flipping back to the state. And this prologue now mixes in alternate takes from Chris Evans during Loki's Endgame arrest.
On my way down to coordinate search and rescue. On my way down to coordinate search and rescue. On my way down to coordinate search and rescue. On my way down to coordinate search and rescue.
Yeah, notice how in this new take, Loki's Cap impression is more robotic and less of the "sir, yes sir, it was an Endgame." It's just an example of how we are already seeing variations to what we saw before. And although it's not focused on, they kept in.
And it's probably just a take from when they did it that they didn't like.
As he closes the suitcase. So then downstairs, as the fumbled Tesseract slides to Loki's feet, listen to its sound.
Of course, of course.
Now it's a much fuller choral chime compared to the sound we heard in Endgame. Showing how, for Loki, this Tesseract is still a sacred key to the God King status that he seeks. But later on, as he realizes this Infinity Stone is literally one of an infinite amount of these rocks, that precious hum fades away. But not knowing that yet, Loki zips away with the Space Stone, leaving Thor's voice calling out in the void.
Where's Loki? Loki?
Audio also taken from Endgame in the background.
Where's Loki? Loki?
And this panic tells us that Loki just created a disrupted history, displacing himself from his destined historical path of accompanying Thor back to Asgard as he was supposed to. This is why Loki is a variant in violation of the TVA's sacred timeline. By teleporting with the Space Stone, he didn't go back in time or enter any new reality, but he did warp this history, causing it all to branch off from the sacred timeline. Now, of course, the Avengers also created branch timelines by taking each stone, but when Cap returned those stones, those branches were erased. However, Cap returning the Tesseract in 1970 would not have erased Loki's theft in 2012, leaving him as the one lingering paradox that the TV is super pissed off about. Then the Marvel Studios title turns green with a flash of gold.
I really like the green logo.
Then we find ourselves in Mongolia's Gobi Desert. This cool shot of an insect crawling reflected upside down in a droplet of water, recalling this Loki's recent arrogance.
An ant has no quarrel with a boot.
Of course, threw back at his face later in that movie.
Ant?
And now this pompous god is about to get stomped back down to earth as an insect compared
That
to the
scene
might
was
of the
so
TVA.
funny.
And in this shot, the camera pushes in on Loki's crash landing in the sand, recalling the shot of Iron Man's crash
Iron
landing
Man,
in the first
yeah.
Iron Man film.
I
A
did catch
similar
that.
tale of an egomaniac forced to reconcile with his actions, transitioning from a violent villain to just a mischievous hero. Since remember, this is the 2012 era Loki, not the nicer guy that he evolved to be in the later films, though this episode does kind of get him close to it via dramatic home movies. But yes, the TVA, Time Variance Authority. These are the Marvel time cops. They prosecute timeline violators with an army of Minutemen, foot soldiers, chronomonitors, and judges. Representing them now is Hunter B-15. Her scanner labels Loki as variant L1130. And notice how the units drop from 5 toward 0, meaning their whole sacred timeline is always just 5 whatever these units are away from branches veering into redline territory, just showing how delicate this timeline really is. The TVA's weapons are these glowing batons, which could be handheld versions of the retroactive cannon that the TVA uses in the comics to erase people from existence, aka retcon.
Humongous.
Notice how B-15's glows violet, unlike the others that glow orange. As we see later, orange is a color used to reset violators to their native timeline, so maybe violet is a setting used to stun a violator in amazing slow motion.
They're moving at 1/16th speed, but feeling all that pain in real time.
Yikes, she is forcing Loki to feel all of this pain, but dilate it out 16 times longer than he should. Punishment via time dilation is actually a recurring theme on the show Black Mirror, in which actress Wunmi Masaku, who plays Hunter B-15, previously tortured Wyatt Russell's character in a time-dilated hell. So they end up pruning this timeline with a reset charge that begins orange and then turns purple. Now, previously, purple sorcery has been associated with Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, I was like,
before that, Dormammu in the Dark Dimension.
Dormammu.
And in Doctor Strange, remember, timeline reversal like this was considered a form of dark magic. Loki creator Michael Waldron wrote the latest draft of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And in an interview with MT, he teased that he may have been smart enough to include these links between the two titles.
Did you set up anything in Loki episodes that you could cash in later on in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or call back anything in Doctor Strange from Loki?
I think that's something you'll have to watch it all and find out if I was that smart or not.
And we'll talk about more of these later. So we arrive at the TVA with
That's a
interiors
good
that
connection.
are often
That's a really
colored
good
with
connection.
eye-scorching orange. This color was often used in early 70s designs to come off as warm and inviting, but now just come off as cringy and uncomfortable and tortuous. Much like
It's very
Orange
uncomfortable.
Miss Minutes. Notice how another variant is a Skrull wearing a tracksuit. Skrulls, of course,
MT loves him
shape-shifting
some Miss
race, seen in
Minutes.
Captain Marvel, Spider-Man Far From Home, WandaVision. Skrulls are just going to start showing up everywhere as we head towards Secret Invasion. B-15 rewinds Loki back to her with a device later called the Time Twister. Now, in the comics, the Time Twisters are actually beings created by accident during the creation of the Time Keepers. They move backward in time and destroy all in their path. Here, the device is a remote leash to whomever is wearing the collar. Comedian Josh Fado plays variant named Martin.
My dad is on the board of Goldman Sachs.
With a name like Martin, I gotta wonder if he could be based on Martin Shkreli. But either way, how did this rich brat from Earth end up as a timeline variant? Could this be Jimmy Woo's witness in federal witness protection who went missing with no explanation? Are we ever gonna get an answer to that? I don't know. And then comedian Eugene Cordero plays TVA clerk named Casey. Notice his pen's in his front pocket. Later in the episode, the ink will leak more and more into his shirt. Poor guy. Here he takes the Tesseract.
I never caught
Can
that
you tell
either.
me what it is? It's the Tesseract. Be very careful with it. Sounds dumb.
Yeah, Casey thinks the Tesseract is dumb
Sounds
because
dumb.
he has a ton of confiscated space stones and none of them stored in a stupid Tesseract. Also, maybe Casey knows a Tesseract is technically a fourth dimensional hypercube incapable of being seen by human 3D perception, but he doesn't know what a fish is. I love it. Loki meets this pervy declothing bot who greets him with a slow forming smile that ends with the right eye twitching a bit. Just a little unnerving to have the thing stripping you naked glitch, but as we will see, the TVA's clockwork is a bit glitchy in general. The transcript room features a cat who's also on this guy's mug, or is it a flurkin? Also, I love how this guy is playing solitaire on his little orange display when Loki dropped in. Poor guy. His wall clock, like all the clocks we see in the TVA, features multiple hands and more than 12 numbers around the circumference. Everything Loki has ever said is printed out on this dot matrix printer, though as someone who's over 1,000 years old, I would think that stack should be way larger. And then Loki gets his body scan for his
I was thinking that too.
aura, which prints out on Polaroid film, kind of like a heat index, but presumably for time, almost like instant carbon dating. And the attendant asks,
"Please confirm to your knowledge that you are not a fully robotic being. We're born an organic creature and do in fact possess what many cultures would call a soul."
Yeah, he specifies fully robotic and born organic.
I thought that scene was
because,
actually kind of funny.
Cybernetically reassembled beings like Nebula probably have a soul, I think. But also just like this idea that there are Ultron-like robots out there that are trying to pass as organic life forms, bringing up an interesting question that Loki asks.
Do a lot of people not know if they're robots? What if I was a robot and I didn't know it?
Yeah, some existential panic from Loki, recalling the Voight-Kemp test of Blade Runner that was used to test AI replicants who might not even know if they're robots. But I see this as one first step by Loki from godly arrogance to mortal fear. Now, the next room has this poster showing Miss Minutes warning, "Behave or you'll get your clock clean," which is literally what the Minutemen do with their ret cannons to reset people's clocks. Actually, there are great TVA posters everywhere in this place. Zero tolerance over the ticket check-in window because, yeah, they got zero tolerance over whether or not you got a ticket. Later, there's one showing a shadowy suited figure reading, "Always watching." You can see a better shot of it in the credits. Just a big brotherian warning from the high ranks of the TVA. Another one saying, "Stable society, tidy timeline," with a dude pruning branches and a poor bird looking at him while he does so. Just an example of how the TVA doesn't really care about any worthy life in new branch timelines that get formed. It's all about the trunk. Then tidy cubicle healthy timeline with branch variants of a clerk at his neat desk, but then one red line variant standing on his desk going nuts. Yeah, propaganda prioritizes neatness over everything else. And then later on, one Nexus events must be pruned. But of course, we get this adorable animation from TVA mascot Miss Minutes, voiced by Tara Strong in a southern accent, kind of like Mr. DNA explaining the science of Jurassic Park.
"Oh, Mr. DNA, where did
That's
you come
funny.
from your blood."
Hey, by the way, we have a whole
From your
Loki-inspired merch lineup at our merch
That's
store,
actually a cool shirt.
merch.com, in which Ms. Minutes shows up quite a bit, in which you can show some worship
Actually
of
had
this
for me.
Miss Minutes figure.
I'd buy
Check
it.
it out, merch.com. So Miss Minutes explains
The WandaVision
new
shirts,
MCU
those was
history.
fire.
Long ago, there was a vast multiversal war, but then the all-knowing timekeepers emerged, bringing peace by reorganizing the multiverse into a single timeline, the sacred timeline.
So, according to this, the MCU used
The
to exist
sacred
as a
timeline.
multiverse of timelines. Timelines that warred with each other, but the Timekeepers interfered with that natural state, deciding to merge all the timelines into one sacred timeline. And that everything we have seen in the MCU so far has been a kind of intermediary peacetime. See, in the comics, the three Timekeepers, named Ast, Vanth, and Zorth, are creations of He Who Remains, the final TVA agent at the end of all time, to pass on lessons to the next universal cycle. But as neutral time deities, these guys are kind of assholes. They at times partner with folks like Immortus, aka Kang the Conqueror, to wage conflict with the Avengers. So this TVA slogan of "for all time always" is at least somewhat a lie, like it hasn't been always. There was a whole other stage of the universe where things were a multiverse. So this is really a myth cooked up to inflate their importance. And actually, you can see at the bottom, this was written by the Time Variance Authority Narrative Commission, proving that they have an in-house
Their
propaganda
narrative
department.
commission.
This whole thing is like the Big Brother Ministry of Truth. But back to the cartoon, the past multiversal war is represented by this.
There's charlatans, I tell you. Charlatans.
Maybe we're seeing the aftermath of a conflict among the Celestials, because we know from the severed head of the Celestial Nowhere that some war caused that. Maybe they're gonna go with the comics and say that some deity Null decapitated him, but I think the Celestials are gonna be involved with it. And then we follow some animation inspired by Rocky Bullwinkle, specifically the Mr. Peabody and Sherman shorts. We follow this yellow man in a bow tie, whose variants toggle from a sea captain to this brute to a mug to a mad scientist to a top hat guy. But notice how each incorporates his bow tie. He's still essentially the same snob. And if this does represent Loki, we do later see Loki in a turtleneck from trailer footage, and that top hat form could be Loki as Jack the Ripper, maybe another real-world mystery that Loki could have been behind the way he was DB Cooper. And then we also see this yellow man leading some kind of uprising in a battle involving a race that looks a bit like the Kree. Meanwhile, the ships on the right look a lot like the ruins of Titan, Thanos' homeworld that we saw in
Yeah, they
Infinity
do,
War.
actually.
So maybe this uprising is against the Titan colony of Eternals that Thanos' father Alars established. And then Miss Minutes goes on.
Stepping off your path
Interesting.
created a Nexus event, which which, left unchecked, could branch off into madness, leading to another multiversal war.
Nexus events, reminding us how WandaVision defined the Scarlet Witch as a Nexus being, a character from the Marvel Comics with the ability to rewrite reality, serving as a linchpin,
So,
bridging their reality with others.
what she
and
did, that
saying
wasn't
branch
considered
off
a
into
Nexus
madness,
event?
leading to another multiversal
You know, 'cause
war. Yeah, I think it's
she
a strong
changed
sign
a
that
lot.
the sacred timeline here could be doomed to unravel, leading to a repeat of the historical cycle in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, in which Wanda's search for her children via the Darkhold could cause another spark between realities. And Miss Minutes ends with,
Just make sure you have your ticket, and you'll be seen by the next available attendant.
yeah, notice how Miss Minutes is an extreme close-up here. Just a very stern warning signaling just how seriously they take tickets. And Martin says,
Were you raising your voice with me, Buckethead?
yeah, I love that they kept in Fatum's little stammer on the word raising, and Martin gets horrifically reset, and Loki shows his ticket like all the passengers in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. But before we continue, this video is brought to you by Curiosity Stream, the award-winning destination for documentaries,
So he
series, and
punched me like,
features. It's smart
he
TV
didn't have
for
his
your
ticket.
Smart TV. Curiosity Stream has thousands of streamable documentaries and nonfiction TV shows on topics like history, nature, science,
Hey, you
food,
said my name.
technology, and travel. Whether you want to explore Mars or travel back to ancient civilizations, Curiosity Stream adds new binge-worthy films and series each week, letting you dive into your favorite
He
subjects.
didn't have a
They have
fly?
35 collections of curated
Oh, yeah,
programs
that
handpicked by
is-
experts. All that content is streaming to any device for viewing anytime, anywhere. They have award-winning exclusives and originals like the Dream the Future series, narrated by Sigourney Weaver. A doc on Curiosity Stream I'm real excited to watch is The Worlds of Philip K. Dick, about the visionary sci-fi author who penned source material for Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report. They also have more World War II and space race content than you'll know what to do with. If your dad is coming over to visit, this will keep him busy forever. So do yourself a favor and sign up for Curiosity Stream. You'll pick up some better fodder for conversation than just the weather.
Curiosity
Use
Stream.
code new ROCKSTARS to
Interesting.
sign up, just $14.99 for the whole year. Now the Loki title letters flicker in with a white glow on this black background, and at one point the O has little horns like Loki's horned crown, leading us to Aix-en-Provence, France, 1549. TVA
France.
agent Mobius Owen Wilson is based on Mobius in the comics. We also heard the word Mobius back in Endgame when Tony Stark figured out
Yeah.
time travel.
In the shape of a Mobius strip, inverted, please.
Now, some mystery killer lured in these Minutemen here to steal their reset charge, using an anachronistic item dropped in the past. In this case, kablooey gum, given to a kid.
Tu sais qui a fait ça?
I had sex and a condom.
Yeah, when he said,
What? Let's get
when he pointed
Boy,
to
the devil's afraid
the
of
devil.
us.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna get this
know
out of the
they
way.
probably
No,
like,
this is not
yeah, no
Mephisto. Series
Mephisto.
creators confirmed it. It's really just meant to reflect Loki as a
Loki.
horned, ambitious
That's
god
what I
like Lucifer
assumed.
cast out of his heaven. We get a further clue when Mobius is handed Loki variant L1130's rap sheet. It's all listed out here. He is Loki Laufeyson because he was actually born son of Laufey, the frost giant from Jotunheim, before becoming Odin's ward, thus his alias of Odinson. His sex is listed as fluid. Haha! So this is a huge confirmation of the theories that we've had for over a year now, that the alternate Loki that they are chasing is in fact a female form, probably played by Sophia DiMartino, most likely going to be Lady Loki. Now in the comics, Lady
Remember I
Loki isn't
said
really an alternate
there
timeline
was
Loki,
2 or
but
3
rather a
women
post-Ragnarok
in
female body
in
intended
their
for a
cast
reincarnated
with no
soul
name.
of Lady Sif, but instead possessed by the soul of Loki. Now, this episode did clarify that Loki has a soul, but I think they're going to be using timeline logic instead because somehow that's simpler. Now, in the courtroom are murals depicting figures with red sashes and a legal scale. These must be the TVA judges. And one of those judges with his glasses and his mustache looks kind of like a younger Stan Lee. Other murals show
does.
TVA clerks and technicians. These could be the chronomonitors and the army of Minutemen. And on the other side, the timekeepers overseeing the sacred timeline. Presiding over Loki's case with the 3 timekeeper faces looming behind is Justice Ravonna Renslayer.
The one in the middle looks
who
like
in the
Kang.
comics is associated with Kang the Conqueror. One of the many reasons I've been speculated this time-traveling villain, confirmed to come up in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, played by Jonathan Majors, might show up in this show. Loki casts blame on the Avengers.
Oh, believe me, you can smell the cologne of 2 Tony Starks.
A callback to Ant-Man making fun of Tony's scent.
Is that Axe body spray?
Yeah, I had a can on the desk for emergencies. Relax.
And Mobius shows Loki the TVA, the vast grid of spires and platforms, all with numerical designations. Like we see T282. This all seems to go on forever. Likely the MCU's version of the null time zone, the TVA home dimension that's removed from time and space. And Loki responds by saying,
This place is a nightmare.
That's another department. Now that department I'll help you burn down.
huh. Now what would these
Nightmare.
time cops care about people's nightmares? Unless maybe their power comes from another dimension where cosmic beings like Nightmare reside. Nightmare being a cosmic entity in the Marvel Comics, a villain to Doctor Strange, who could show up in the second Doctor Strange movie. But I also like the theory
wonder if
that
this is
maybe
gonna
when
point to
things are
multiple
retconned,
actual
they live
villains,
on in people's
not just
subconsciouses, and that's
another
where the
Loki.
nightmares come from. Now the elevator
Or the
buttons
TVA
all
being
correspond to some
the
3-character
villain.
alphanumeric code that don't seem to refer to anything specific yet, but I think it's just a sign of how complex and Dewey Decimal like the different floors of the TVA are. Though, in the end credits, when these appear on the screen, the code 1EJ is immediately hit with access denied. So there is some part of the TVA that is off limits. Now, in the Time Theater, Mobius sips a Josta, a discontinued soft drink from the late 90s. Similar to that Boku fruit juice that we've seen in the trailer footage, the TVA might be able to access all the food and drinks that you can't get anymore. And in this interrogation, Loki explains why he wanted to rule.
I would have made it easy for them. The first and most oppressive lie ever uttered was the Song of Freedom.
Yes, connecting to his speech in Germany, which Mobius actually shows him among his greatest hits in the TVA Hollow projector.
The bright lure of freedom diminishes your life's joy in a mad scramble for power.
Now, Mobius reminds Loki about Agent Coulson.
Oh yeah, Phil Coulson. Didn't the Avengers come together to literally avenge him?
If you believe that whole sacred timeline explanation, this could be another nail in the coffin of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.'s canonicity, since that show assumes Coulson did not really die. Though don't worry, if this ends with the sacred timeline blowing up into a multiverse, one of those alternate timelines could just be the one Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is all set in. So we're still good, I think. Notice how the Battle of New York highlights Freeze on the waitress Beth. That character, played by Ashley Johnson, Chrissy Seaver from Growing Pains, birthplace of Ralph Boner.
Jesus Christ.
That was a Cap subplot that was cut from that first Avengers movie, or we can now look at it as a pruned branch storyline that Mobius could be interested in. And we learned Loki was real-life mystery hijacker DB Cooper.
From the flight deck, Captain William H. Scott at Northwest Starry Airlines 305 on schedule for landing Seattle.
Yeah, William Scott was actually the name of the pilot of that Northwest Orient 305 in 1971, when DB Cooper, or someone using that alias, hijacked a flight and jumped out of the plane with $200,000 in stolen cash. Notice how here Heimdall catches Loki via the Bifrost, leaving some cash floating, a nod to the fact that all they ever found of DB Cooper was some cash floating in the Columbia River.
Yeah.
It was all Loki, all along. And it was all because Loki apparently lost a bet to Thor, who's all in on this. Just a reminder of how much of a reckless jerk Thor used to be. Now, as Mobius helps Loki up, you can see the moment in Loki's eyes when he spots the time twister in his pocket, and notice how his swipe is distracted by B-15
Oh, okay.
Then while
Didn't-
Loki
definitely
sneaks
did not
around,
see
another
that.
variant gets detained in the background. I gotta say, it looks a bit
That
like
looks
Peggy
like her
Carter, doesn't
so
it?
much.
Just would be interesting because
Even the
according to
hair.
in-game directors, Cap living his life with Peggy created a branch timeline, what the TVA might now consider to be a variant nexus violation. Though really the variant perpetrator in that case would be old Steve, not his poor wife, so I don't know. So Loki sneaks off and finds Casey, who returns the Tesseract
But that-
and reveals
that
a
looks
whole
like her
evidence
so
drawer
much.
filled with variant Infinity Stones.
How do you have these?
Oh, we actually got a lot of those. Yeah, some of the guys use them as paperweights. Some of them.
So how do they get these? Well, maybe each variant they've caught may
They're
have been
from,
in possession
resets.
of an Infinity Stone, since the ancient ones seem to
Yeah,
suggest
that's what I
that
think.
only the removal of stones could cause branches from the sacred timeline, and maybe with each pruning, the stolen stone was just restored back to the sacred timeline, leaving this stone in the TVA as a kind of powerless carbon copy receipt of it. Now, in this box, you can see red reality
what I
stones,
think.
green time stones, purple power stones, blue space stones, a couple chunky orange soul stones, though, interestingly, no yellow mind stones available. And then Loki picks up a time stone, as if of all these, the one he would want the most is the ability to reverse time. Also in this drawer is a super rare T206 Honus Wagner baseball card, a casino chip for 5,000, and some kind of
that
military
card is
medal.
worth a lot
And
of
later
money.
in the end credits, you can actually see a mind stone being used as a paperweight. I also have to wonder what Casey meant by some of agents use the Infinity Stones as paperweights? Could some past TVA agent have snatched one of these, went into the timeline, and started wreaking havoc to become Kang? I'm gonna go with that explanation. Kang Gang for life. B-15 finds Loki, tries to reset him, but instead erases Casey's evidence cart, showing that in addition to the variants, people and things in the TVA can be retconned to somewhere. Loki scrubs back through Frigga's death with this interesting music playing. This amazing, mournful violin melody was composed by the Loki composer, Natalie Holt, who is clearly very talented, though I gotta mention this because it's amazing. She used to work as a backup musician on Britain's Got Talent, and she freaking egged Simon Cowell for ruining the music industry. A freaking badass. Loki also mourns Odin.
I love you, my son.
Yeah, focusing on one of my favorite
he
details
was not
of
happy
Thor
with
Ragnarok,
that.
Tom Hiddleston's reaction to Odin finally considering Loki a son. And finally, Loki arrives at his death. Yeah, the framing makes it look like future Loki is saying this to our variant Loki, like the ghost of Christmas future telling him to let go of his God King ambitions. And then notice as the film strip runs out, on the holo projector it reads Tail 112914, I think 71129114 Loki Laufeyson, meaning this is the tail end of the film reel. But the weird thing is in the close-up of the film strip, as it goes across the projector reel, it says Tail 1ETH616, 1ETH616 Loki Laufeyson. And I only point that out because 616 is the numerical designation of the Prime Marvel universe in the comics. Technically, the MCU is Earth 199999. So Loki ends up confessing to Mobius.
I don't enjoy hurting people. It's part of the
Interesting.
So Loki,
Good
even
catches.
back in 2012, was never a sadist. He's just a mischievous scamp who commits violence in order to gain power. He's projecting an illusion of his fearsomeness. And that is the confirmation Mobius has been wanting with all this questioning. Really, this was all a Voight Camp test to determine if Loki had any humanity in him. And now that Mobius knows that he does, he gives Loki this assignment, a chance to destroy the worst parts of himself.
The variant we're hunting is you.
And so the epilogue goes to an oil field in Salina, Oklahoma in 1858, where Hunter U-92 investigates this interesting device.
Time signature is early 3rd millennium. Definitely anachronistic.
Early 3rd millennium would be now, I guess? You think first millennium is 0 to year 1000, second millennium is 1000 to 2000, so early 3rd millennium would be sometime between 2000 and 2300, I guess? Either way, it is a sign that we are looking at some villain with access to future technology. And here is our hooded villain, our evil Loki variant, burning them all in hellfire, as that stained glass demon foretold. Actually, in that art, there is a moon, which to me recalls the trailer footage of Sophia DiMartino's character in the shadow of a collapsing moon. Who is she exactly? We will find out. Now, the end credit sequence is filled with cool visual details, so many that I actually have to break it down in a separate video coming tomorrow. But a few things I gotta note here. Among some math pinned to an office wall is an equation whose name is partially obscured, but it looks like Schrodinger's equation. I'm not certain if this is actually Schrodinger's equation. Quantum physics nerds, forgive me if it isn't. He was one of the early theoretical physicists who really pioneered quantum mechanics that Loki's branch timeline logic is really based on. Schrodinger, of course, famous for his Schrodinger cat thought experiment, in which an unobserved cat is both alive and dead simultaneously, essentially saying we all kind of exist in separate realities. There's an apocalyptic event report describing the events of the D.B. Cooper hijacking from Seattle 1971. Just interesting that the TVA categorizes that as an apocalyptic event. Just making me think that they might consider it on par with events like the destruction of Pompeii, which we also will see in the series. There's also a variant diagram showing 5 different variants. There's one with a circle head, and then the other heads shaped as a square, a triangle, pentagon, hexagon, and then an X, just like the number of variants we saw the yellow cartoon guy have. And then the credit visuals end with the faces of the timekeepers of the courtroom punching in specifically on the center one before cutting to black, which I have said before does look a bit like the face of Jonathan Majors, who's going to play Kang.
I think it's Kang.
Saying that Kang's lover Ravonna Renslayer was framed directly in that figure's lips. And lastly, if you stick around all the way to the end of the credits, you can hear the voice of who? Miss Minutes coming back.
Thanks for visiting the TVA. Don't hesitate to let us know how we're doing.
And after this great first episode, I think you guys are doing great. Another reminder to support this channel by checking out our great Loki-inspired merch options at NewRockstarsMerch.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVOSS. Follow New Rockstars. Subscribe to New Rockstars for breakdowns of everything Loki. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Yes. Follow New Rockstars. Show them some love. Subscribe to their channel. They have some great videos, great Easter eggs. If you're really into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel storylines, Eric Voss and his crew, MT, everybody over there is more than they do stuff on here, on YouTube. They do stuff on Screener. They do stuff. I mean, of course, you can find them on Twitter, on Instagram. Man, they have great content. Really, really good content. I've been following for a very long time. I've been a supporter, fan of theirs for a very long time. I love what they do. But it's very interesting. Some of the stuff he has pointed out that I didn't catch, especially this the moment when Loki, stole the little clicker, the time twister. I thought that was pretty interesting. The sound at the very beginning that mimicked the sound from Endgame. That was, I mean, no, not Endgame, but from the Attack on New York. I thought that was interesting. The DB Cooper one, when I seen it in the actual storyline, I thought that was really cool. It's basically saying he was DB Cooper, and I was like, okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. It's because he lost a bet with Thor, and it kind of also pays tribute to the fact that Thor, when we first see him, he's not really a good person. You know what I'm saying? He's just a cocky kid, and that makes sense. He's just picking on his little brother in that storyline. The the canon that they have, that the TVA group uses, even though it's like a little stick, it's interesting. I wonder why they diverted from the canon. Maybe because it's just too big, too ostentatious of a thing to build to make it look good on screen, and covering up everything. That makes something smaller, so at least you can see the actors can sell it with their faces and the actual physical acting. So I think that probably makes more sense. And what they were saying about the writer who tied in the colors of the purple from Agatha, WandaVision to all the different dark magic that deals with Doctor Strange. I thought that was dope, especially because we're going into that storyline. Everything is pretty much leading there, so that's actually really cool. Now the thing about I know I watched a few people talk about the stones, the scene with the stones, and a lot of people have gotten upset because they're like, oh well, if at that moment they're saying the stones don't mean anything, then what's the point? What was the point of the stories? What was the point of our stones? And I don't think that the stones didn't mean anything. It's just that, like Eric was saying, people through time, or villains through time, got their hands on stones and tried to make changes to their lives, their realities, their money, to different things, which caused different variants. And so when TVA caught up to them and they reset them, but also took those stones away from those timelines. Which when they reset it, the stone goes back to a new stone goes back to its original place, is reset, but what's there is kept as evidence to what took place in that timeline, or that variation of that timeline. And I think that's why those stones don't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? Because at that point, once they reset it, that stone is it's like a rock. It's just dead. It has no life, no force, no power, no strength, no anything. And so I think people are just overthinking it, just getting upset at saying, "Oh well, if you don't mean anything, then that's just stupid." Like, you're thinking too hard. Stop trying to compare the storylines to the comics. You can't do that 100%. The comics are used as reference, not as not as the full script. So some things are from the comics, some things are diverted and changed to become more interesting, to tell a bigger story in the MCU. So that's how I feel about it. Also, when you look at the three faces on the wall behind the judge, I'm telling you, that middle one, this is not the first time when I seen it, I originally thought Kang. And then I seen somebody post on another profile I follow on Instagram, and they did their comparison. And I was like, okay, I'm not the only person that's seen that. And now Eric Voss is saying the same thing. Like, okay, that has to be, we all feel that it has to be Kang. And the fact that there's a department in the TVA that no one has access to, what's there? And I wonder if throughout this story with Loki, will we get to experience that? Will we get to experience that and see what's there? And you know what I'm saying? Just see, like, okay, we're gonna experience something that's very, very different, and he's gonna tell us a whole different type of story. That's what I'm looking forward to. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what we're looking at. There's a little lag in my video, so hope it's not messing up too much. But for the most part, what did you guys think of what the Erik VOSS and the crew pretty much brought up about the different Easter eggs and the details that we might have missed? This was actually a really good video. We still got an hour and some minutes before the next new episode of Loki. So I don't know. Maybe I could do another video for that. It just depends on how long it is. This one was 25 minutes, and plus with us it was 27 minutes, and with us talking, this is gonna be like a 30-minute video, so it's gonna take a while to upload. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the Easter eggs and the different little details. Hope you enjoyed my reaction to it. My name is Nonpfixion. Hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, morning, noon, wherever you are in the world today. And I hope if you're watching this video right now before episode 2 drops, we will be doing a live watch along. So you can watch it and I can watch it. And we can talk about it here on YouTube. Appreciate you. I love you. Hope you guys are having a great night. Hope you had a great Taco Tuesday. And please don't forget, subscribe. Appreciate you guys. Love you. And I'm out. All right.